Officials in New Orleans vowing to request demographics data to ensure people are not being targeted based on race or ethnicity. Joining me now to discuss is Adam Isacson, Director for Defense Oversight at the Washington Office on Latin America. Adam, good to see you. Thanks for being with us today to talk through it all, because we've got a lot to parse out here. What do you make of the mayor-elect requesting demographics data? Let's start there. What will that accomplish in your view?
Well, I mean, the mayors are in many of these communities. They just don't have the same attitude about the immigrants in their communities, and they are worried about a force coming through, this Border Patrol force coming through, and basically using racial profiling and violating what in those communities would be considered laws against assault. So I think that's what they're trying to go for here.
And then you've got Louisiana Governor, right, Jeff Landry, welcoming Border Patrol into the state. So how does the conflicting views of the governor versus the mayor-elect of New Orleans play into what we're going to see on the ground? I mean, is it mixed messaging? How are people viewing this?
Yeah, I mean, the state of Louisiana and the city of New Orleans don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think that happens in a lot of sort of blue cities in red states. And this is another example of this. Yeah. But also, in the rural parts of Louisiana, they're not going to see Border Patrol agents, chasing people down the street or using unnecessary violence. You're also, if they do, you won't see communities actually coming out and honking their horns and blowing their whistles because they don't believe this is the way to do things. You're not going to see probably in rural parts of Louisiana masked agents, aiming loaded guns at people who aren't considered a threat to their security, or who don't pose a threat of violence. Violations of basic use of force standards. In the cities, yes, they are afraid of seeing that, and they are looking at what their legal options are to limit that behavior as much as they can, because it's hard on these cities to have a force coming through that, if they violate use of force standards, is not going to be punished. There's very little record of accountability for this Border Patrol force that's been going from city to city. Yeah. So what do you do if you're a mayor and you have this unaccountable force coming through and often using excessive force?
Right. Huge questions still to be answered. We also want to take a listen to Border Czar Tom Homan on reasonable suspicion and if agents are targeting people based on looks. Let's take a listen to that.
No, their appearance alone can't raise reasonable suspicion. It's articulable facts, a lot of different facts taken into consideration. And the Supreme Court just backed the Trump administration up on this. I know a lot of the media says, oh, the Supreme Court just justified racial profiling. That's not what the Supreme Court said. Supreme Court said they agree with the way these operations are being conducted because the standard of reasonable suspicion is being used by both ICE and the Border Patrol in the interior operations.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, reasonable suspicion. When using it, what factors go into Border Patrol making an arrest?
The factors are, yes, appearance, but that's just one. Okay. It's the use of a foreign language. It is congregating in areas where a lot of undocumented people are known to congregate, and those sort of patterns of where they are during the day. That still quite often overlaps with racial profiling. And, we now, the folks at ProPublica have come up with more than 170 cases of U.S. citizens being detained for quite a while under these stops that are allowed by the Supreme Court for now under, a preliminary decision. And, quite often spending hours in custody and being really roughly treated and having doubt cast on their citizenship by the often Border Patrol, but sometimes ICE agents that are arresting them. And what's the concern here is that, back in July, Congress appropriated $170 billion to expand these kinds of operations around the country. That money's just coming online. So the sort of stuff that we've begun to see in these few cities is going to multiply next year. And we're going to see case after case after case daily in our social media, in our regular media, of this kind of behavior that really most Americans do find objectionable.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.